Greetings, chess fans. My name is Arturs Neiksans. I'm the leading Latvian chess grandmaster. And in this episode, we're going to talk about the winning technique, queen versus rook. It's not really that difficult as long as you know the principles. Here we go. So this is the starting position. We call it the Philidor's position. And we're going to talk about the technique, how to win it. But still, I would like to start with a couple of things that you have to avoid. You have to avoid a stalemate. Queen a6 is very tempting, but it runs into first this kind of stalemate. You cannot do it because it's a draw. Then also going the other way, king d6, rook d7 is another kind of stalemate, so make sure you never fall for this. And the third kind of stalemate after rook d7, king c6, rook d6. So as long as you know these three tricks, these three stalemates, you're good. So let's start from the very beginning about this position. So the point is, you want to land your opponent into a zugzwang position where he is sort of holding on, but every single move he has to make loses. So if it's your move to make, how do you make progress? We have to find a way to give the opponent the move. So we are going to use the so-called triangulation, queen e5, queen a1, and queen a5. So give a check. Black has no moves here. Either king c8, queen e8 is going to be immediately made on the board, so he cannot do that. King a7, queen a1, king b8, and queen a5. Exactly the same position, but now the point is, black cannot set up a defense. So king c8 drops the rook here immediately. So he basically has to move the rook away from the king, and as soon as this happens, you're looking for long checks, and you have to use your imagination, diagonal checks, vertical checks, horizontal checks. The queen is a very powerful piece. So here's an illustration. So queen d8, queen d4. Again, there's no king a6. It's immediately made on the board. So the king has to go back, check, and the rook is gone. How about that? Let's move on. Let me show you the next example because this one is pretty easy. Now, this is the so-called second rank defense. And what we want to do, we want to force the defender to the corner so that we get to execute the Philidor's position. So we start with queen f5. Push the queen a bit away from the king d8, and now a pretty accurate move is king c5. Why not king c6? Because you already know the stalemate trick with rook e6 check. You cannot take it, it's a stalemate. And now after king d5, you would have to know the third rank defense, which is a bit harder. So my advice, when you're having the second rank defense, do not downgrade it to the third rank defense. So you start with king c5. Obviously you want to get to d6, you're just being accurate. Now if black plays here king c7, I suppose he's going to have to do it because he doesn't want to lead the rook so far away from the king. So he plays king c7, we're approaching queen d5. Natural desire for your opponent will be to keep the rook close. So we play queen e5 check. King c8 is going to be immediately king c6. That's it, black is just losing immediately. King b7, king b5, rook c7, queen e8. I think there's other moves as well, but again, essentially you're using the zugzwang as a motive. Rook c8, another important move here, check. Or king c7, check, here king b6, that's inevitable mate. So if he goes king a7, now you see here, queen e4, another zugzwang is threatening, king c6, here, and queen d5. Now remember this position, because this position very often is one step before the Philidor position. So black goes here, and you play queen d8. And now if you would tilt your head to the left, you would see that this is exactly the same Philidor position, except we have to look at it from all kinds of angles. So my advice would be, after you study this video, you practice at home on the board from all angles, because in an actual game, you will pretty much, there's no guarantee you'll get it from the view that you have studied it. So it can be tricky. You do know the solution, but when you have to tilt your head to the right or left, it doesn't seem to be the same. Let's move on to the next position. The so-called third rank defense. Now this is a bit more advanced, but still, Your idea is to harass the rook on b6 and make sure that black switches to the second rank defense, that he moves the rook closer to the rook so that your king can advance. How do you do it? Now it really depends where the black rook stands, because if it stands on b6, it's not so easy for you to make progress. So you can go here, you can go here, now the rook goes to d6 and black keeps the third rank defense. So here, if this is indeed a situation, now you need to find a way to give your opponent a move. So you play queen f4, now black has to move. So queen f4 is just like a ridiculous move, but again, where's the move? So most likely black will play king d7. There's no rook a6, there's going to be queen b8, the rook is lost. And also there's no rook g6, there's queen f8. Now the point is, if black advances the king, king d7, now you give check from this angle, and you try to check here. So if black plays king c7, check, and black is forced to downgrade from the third rank defense to the second rank defense. And again, you're being very careful, avoid losing the queen, avoiding these stalemate tricks. Rook g7, you see the rook already disappears, check here, check here, check here, check here. And as soon as you're getting closer, king c6, you see you take care of this rook's checks. The queen on e4 is fantastically positioned. Rook b7, check here, queen d8. Well, what it is, this is the Philidor position. And then you proceed with the already shown technique. Finally, the trickiest position we have is the so-called fourth rank defense. So now you see the rook controls the fourth rank. Your technique pretty much remains the same. You want to push the king closer to the b4 square and make sure that your opponent abandons the fourth rank defense and he brings the rook closer to the king. And then you can move it to the third rank, you can move it to the second rank, and finally the Philidor position. But there are some nuances. So for example, when you're approaching with a king, you really want to play automatically king d4. Because what does it matter? Well, it does matter, because your opponent could play rook a1. And now in some lines, you'll be missing the opportunities to use the queen to target the rook on a1 because your king stands in the way. So the correct idea is, whenever you have this chance, think about king d3 instead. So you're being more accurate, you're playing king c4, king b4, and your queen is more mobile for diagonal, vertical, and horizontal checks. But first we're going to start with queen f7 check. We want to get some information where does black positions his king. So most likely he plays something like king d6. We approach the queen, so he goes probably here. He goes probably king c7. There's no rook a4 check, by the way. So king c7, queen e6. We're advancing the king, rook b5 here. And you see, we are approaching, and black cannot lift the rook to the other side because he's always going to lose the rook. So he goes here, trying to put the rook on the same diagonal as our king, but here it just doesn't work because we're pushing him back. Now you see, he cannot keep the fourth rank defense. There's no rook g5, no rook h5. The rook will be here lost. So he has to immediately downgrade from the fourth rank defense to the second rank defense. So finally, the rising Philidor position. Now also here, he could have done something else. Instead of playing king d6, he could have played king d8. Very tricky move. Again, you're approaching with a queen. You're making sure that rook a4 doesn't really bother. You're approaching the king, king b4, king b5 squares. He goes here, and now the accurate move again. King d3, not king d4, because king d4 allows rook a1, and your winning technique is harder. So you play king d3, he goes here, king d4, let's say he goes here, and now he is essentially downgrading to the third rank defense. So if he tries to play something like rook c1, again, we are looking for these long diagonal, vertical, horizontal checks. But another important technique you can always use, you can harass the rook here on c1, advance with the king, and make sure that these checks on d1 and c1 sometimes are impossible. So let's say rook c6, queen e7, king b6, and now we're back again to the third rank defense. So as a final word, like I already said, I think you should practice these positions at home from all kinds of angles. Because in actual games, not always you'll have it right in front of you. It could be tilted left, right, or the other way. And just practice this. And remember, As long as you know the Philidor position, you know the second rank, third rank, fourth rank defense, what are the tricks that Zugzwang plays a big part of the winning technique, you'll be good. That's it. If you like this episode, please press like and write your comments in the comments section. What do you think? How many times have you had the chance to use this in your games? And of course, if you like my content, please consider also subscribing to my channel, as it's gonna allow me to produce more educational content. Thank you for watching. I'm signing off.